All right, so let's take a look at Moto Bass 2 versus the Logic Studio basses. So first of all, let's talk about the basses that we get. With Logic, we have the classic P bass. We have the 60s Paul McCartney Hofner's type bass. We have the rock bass, which is like a Rickenbacker, session bass, which is a jazz bass. And then we have like the Music Man bass here for the modern setting. And then we have an American upright bass as well. In Moto Bass, the full version, you get 22 different basses. And there is a free version, so you can get the P bass for free. And then you could buy separate basses if you want. I got the whole package deal here. And there's 22 different basses. So we got the P bass, we got the jazz bass, we got the 70s jazz bass. We got the punk bass, we got the fretless bass, we got the Music Man fretless bass, we got the jazz fusion bass here, we got the Hofner bass, or horn bass rather, I'm sorry. And then we got two upright basses, Rockabilly and Studio. And then we have this one called Aluminum, which I don't know what that's modeled after. We got a modern jazz bass, Devil bass, which is like a Gibson, Bass Man, which is like a Music Man. Got the Rickenbacker, we got a studio bass, we got the violin bass, which is the Hofner as well. Thunderbird bass, Japan bass, Flame bass, Imperial bass, and then the metal bass. So a lot more bass options, obviously. Now we could get great sounds from both of these, and you know, it's just a matter of preference and things like that. So for the bass amps in Moto Bass, we have the tube amp and we have the solid state amp, and there's pedal board in here as well, which is this 4 slots for a pedal board. We have these different effects. Now we can bypass all these and use a different bass modeling amp as well on both plugins. So in the studio bass in Logic, for amps and stuff like that, we have their built-in bass amp plugin, and we have the classic amp, modern amp, flip top amp, different cabinets we can choose from, and you could blend in the direct and with the direct signal with the amp signal as well. And of course they use the channel strips for all the other settings. Now as far as the features of each bass, in Logic we have a finger style, we have a pick, we have a slap. Some of the basses don't have slap, this one does. And then we can have the mute, how much muting of the bass, definition, we have volume for each pickup, tone. This one only has one pickup, but if we switch it to a one with 2 pickups, we have volume and bridge, neck, tone and bridge as well for the volume and tone, the main output, definition. This one does not have a slap bass setting, and then we have that kind of stuff. Now, and with the upright bass, we have growl, attack, noises, master volume. And there's more details over here as well. So lots of options. I should go back to this one for the details because we have string noise, hum noise, all that stuff. So you can get lots of really cool tones and, you know, the natural artifacts. Moto Bass, we could do finger, we could do pick, we could do slap, we could do the muting, we could have the stroke, index finger, middle finger, alternate. Logic, you can do that too, all down picks if you want, down, up, whatever. We'll go into that in a second here. And then we have touch, hard, soft, how hard you're hitting the strings. We got the ring on and off. We got different fingering, easy, nearest, and first position. Open strings on and off. Some noise settings here in slides and everything like that. And we can also turn something about the Moto Bass, which is really cool. We could turn any of the basses into a fretless bass. We could add up to 6 strings to any of the basses. We could do a D drop. We could set the action of the bass to high, low, standard. We could change the strings, flat, wound, and round. We got the gauge of the strings, heavy, medium, light. We can have old strings. We can have new strings. We can have broken in strings. So there's a lot more cool stuff you can do with the strings. We can also move where you're picking or fingering the bass with this slider here, which will change the tone. So you can see where you're playing the bass, just like a natural bass. The tone changes depending on where you're using your fingers or the pick or slap. We can also move the pickups, which is pretty cool. And we can change the pickups. And we could even add in a pickup down here on this like P bass here. So we have like a humbucker down here, and we have volume for that. The tone, we could also choose active pickups or passive pickups. Turn this one up, turn this one down. So this is pretty crazy. You could really dial in your own bass tone. You can experiment. Now, sometimes you might, like for me, if I'm creating a song, I'm not going to play around with this stuff too much. I'm going to do this on different times and experiment because you could run into analysis paralysis where you just keep tweaking stuff endlessly and you can't figure out a bass sound. Most times I just want to throw a bass on and get the sound going, and that's it. So other times, though, I take some time and experiment with stuff, see what I can come up with, because you never know what you're going to come up with when you start doing all kind of this editing, basically building your own bass here. So that's really cool thing of Moto Bass. Now in Logic, you could do a lot of things as well with a studio bass, just not as, you can't change the strings and stuff like that, but there's a lot of other stuff. Now, one of the advantages of the studio bass in Logic, one, if you have Logic, it's free, and the bass player, session player is really, great. And you can edit the stuff really easily too. Example here, let's play this. So you can dial in your bass parts really quickly. And if you want to convert this part to MIDI, we now have more control of like the different articulations. Now this does not use key switches like a lot of software instruments do. So we can change these individually. We make that harmonic if we want to. That wasn't the beginning of the song. Let me try that again. So we will make this one harmonic or something. So that turns into a harmonic, and you just pick the note and you have all these different articulations. Now in Moto Bass, they do have patterns here. They do use key switches. And you go in here to control. So you're going to have to do all your key switching with different key switches and controls. And there's a lot of control in this one as well, as far as slides, harmonics, ghost notes, muting, all that kind of stuff. But it can take a lot more time than it within the Logic version of the bass, because, it just will, because you have to do all the stuff manually, add it in. The preset patterns, I haven't really used them that much. They're just, they're MIDI drag and drop. So you could find stuff to get going, but the Logic one is a lot better for that, because you could just, put the chord changes in there, bam, start making some adjustments to the session player, and you're good to go. So let's play some sounds here. This is the standard Moto Bass, not standard, but, and what do we got going on the P bass? Actually, that's the whatever I created there. Cool thing about Moto Bass 2 is we have all these different presets for like fingered bass. Say you want a pick bass, a slap bass. Let's go for fingered here. Let's pick the first one and presets. Next one. So it's changing some of the settings, like some of them changed the pickups already. The pickups moved. So we have so many different things going on. So like I said, you could download so many different sounds. So I just changed light string gauge, broken in strings, wound round, standard action, 6 strings, which we're not playing right now, and I changed it to fretless. Add some muting in. Just, yeah, all kind of crazy stuff you can do here. Let's play it with a pick. So this is really cool. Again, you know, there's probably more bass sounds than you're ever going to need, but it is fun to experiment and play around with things and have all kind of fun using the thousands of, you know, endless basically combinations you can use. Now you can also, I've been using the Moto Bass, turning off the electronics and using third-party amps, even the Amplitude, which is IK Multimedia as well. And it's the bass amps from Logic and different ones. So there's all kind of stuff you can do. Perhaps I'll do a different video on the upright basses. But one thing Logic doesn't have is the fretless bass yet. By the time you're watching this video, who knows, maybe they'll add one in. But that's another cool thing. All right, so I guess in part 2 of this video, because this video is getting kind of long, I'll do more sound demos. I planned on doing more sound demos in this video, but I got carried away going into all the details. There's a lot of details on both of these basses. So stick around for part 2. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to be notified of new videos coming out. And that is all for now, and I will talk to you soon.